what would the world be like if we really solved every problem at the forefront every time it's presented to us? For instance, when I look at my small town, I live in a small town in Oklahoma, and every time I drive across town, I'm always like, why are there no new businesses coming in? Why is nothing new hardly coming around in areas that are important? Why is the downtown breaking apart? These old buildings and no one's using them. Like, where is the development of an economy here? It's like it's stuck in limbo. And I see some other cities kind of do the same thing. And then there's other cities that are obviously developing. But those in the timeline of them are very stretched out. It's just like we are far-fetched on being focused to actually solve the problems versus, people constantly going into how are we going to make more money out of this? Because you could technically still structure an economy and everything to do in the economy where it is still not having to as much look at the profit, because the profit inherently is there. It's how do we solve the problem and then apply the profit system around it where it's a secondary thing but still is there. And how do you do that? Because obviously any structure, monetization, or how profit exists can change. And you see that with the modern day overhead of how we went from, way before all of this modern tech and how they made their money and how they got more money from people and how all of that other stuff to now you have data, you have digital stuff, you have all these arbitrary things that are basically in the ether that we have attached value to. And then we have things like crypto. My point is that we really can create value out of thin air, and we can also conceptualize a deep end of structure to still make sure people get what they need at the top and whatever they're trying to do. Because obviously if you're providing a lot of value, then yes, you deserve to have the value you're perceiving and with all the fairness to it. But if we focused only on solving problems first, we would get so much farther. And so in my town specifically, and even in other places I see this, but I'll speak on my experience more directly, because there are many places like this that could be built up to be a lot like some of the bigger cities in that state. But in Oklahoma, we have basically 2 cities. And those 2 cities, everything else is either so small that you could get across town in 5 to 10 minutes, or it's so underdeveloped that the town, half of it is not even hardly a town. It's just land. And that's cool, but where is the effort of changing the structure of anything to apply it into either a modern stance or a development stance from humanity and consciousness? And you could say that that's obviously where we're at now, but I'll give an example. It's like, let's say in my small town, all these people can't rebuild their homes. A lot of people there, because there's no middle class, it's basically people that are very poor or people that don't even work in town, and they're good, because the dynamic and the economy of our value system just is like that. You could live there, drive 40 minutes to work to the big city, and in that big city you'll make plenty to cover your cost of doing that, as well as give you a whole comfortable life, which leads a very big blank area in the middle of that's actually the minority, and the majority is the people who are struggling inside of the whole town. And there's no structures being implemented that actually fully help people get off the ground in different areas, because homelessness is just one area of what you could say is a problem in a town. But what about in a town like this, where a lot of people have older homes that they never have the ability to renovate because the economy there never booms? There's never an excess of or an inflow of something that lets them get a leg up. So most people are just constantly living in rundown places, and nothing happens with them. And I even see buildings and houses get burned down and nothing gets rebuilt there. It just is gone. There's no incentive. And so it's like, I'm not the governor. I don't have any say. But why can't a collective of thoughtful people come in and say, yo, this clearly isn't working, and to care for my fellow people, something here has to change. So how do we get that done? And the thing is, trying to petition for it and do a bunch of other shit takes too long. Some of these people's houses could very well need like minor adjustments. So how is there not like a grant system that is fluctuated into like, because I'm also about building ecosystems, and very well every single place on the planet, city, not just a state, but a city, and even sub-cities inside the cities can have gardens and flourishing permaculture forests that could feed their communities. Why not have things where we take stuff that is free, that people already monetize, but do it at a state or a somewhat higher level in a city, and use that as a backbone for giving back to people in ways like giving people a $10,000 grant to get things in their house fixed in a place like that as a boot up to their economy. Because now these people, with their environment being better, their mental states are going to be better. Their ability to figure out, oh, if I do come up on something else now, maybe I can put it towards other things that improve the quality of life of those people. And those can be such small and minor things that, like, you could say do it in a loan system as well, and take equity just in the section of what you gave to them in the house, and do a long-term equity stake that if they ever decide to sell the house, that you get your equity and its interest on the equity that you have in there. And you basically could do what all these banks do and just do it as a security at that point on the loan. It's like there's ways we could structure for something like that, and that's just very small. For instance, right, like, why can't we make a grocery store in every single place that is just tied into a food forest, that then is directly tied into having the barrier of getting your food at complete zero, but still being able to have it adequately at scale? Because doing something like that would not be impossible. What would it take? Effort. And the people sitting in the room with enough thought to actually piece together how this would make any sense. So I firmly believe here that if we wanted to solve things in society and actually solve the problems, we could come up with a way, because we always find a way, whether it's individually, collectively, to accomplish an objective that is something we can do as humans. So if, like, get Elon on the fucking phone here, get Donald Trump in here, like, I don't know, somebody to say, yo, y'all need a thought leader section of what you are trying to do. Get every other country involved. We need a thought leader section on this entire planet of people who think and actually are a part of doing that one thing, which is thinking, or completely putting their thoughtfulness as a form of what we take into consideration in a more broad level than just people coming in and signing shit in. And Elon is doing a lot of like breaking some of those barriers down, but I think it takes obviously more than people just like Elon. We not just need like 100 Elons, we need like 50 people who are just as mindful and just as willing to put their place in their head to see how we can help others and actually apply it, and then actually talk to the people who do things about it and what would need to be done to practically break the time barrier down, and then get the monetization down to just get it all happening. And I'm advocating for this right now.